Hello and welcome to episode 2 of our Election Connection monthly video series. I'm Scott Jarett.
And I'm Rey Valenzuela. We are your elections directors for Maricopa County. Each month we'll have a new episode of Election Connection,
where viewers can submit questions to us and we can answer those questions. So Rey, are you ready to get started?
Yes, but before we do, I did want to get some context on the format of these Election Connection series, since this is new and this is only our second episode. So the first one, I was able to drill down to Scott some questions. And for this second episode, which I have a little fear, Scott will be asking me some questions and pressuring me. But for future series, the questions submitted will determine who's taking on that response role. But anyways, I think I'm ready, Scott, so fire away.
Well, I'm very happy the roles are reversed today. So here's the first question. Will early voting ballots be mailed to residents who are on the list for early voting ballots? I heard we may have lost that option.
So I think what the voters asking is they signed up for PEVL, or the Permanent Early Voting List, and as it used to be called, and they're worried that they're no longer going to receive a ballot by mail because there was a change to that process. So to that question, there was indeed a change where PEVL went to ABLE, ABLE standing for Active Early Voting List. But for all intents and purposes, being worried that they no longer receive a ballot is not necessarily a concern, because basically PEVL, anybody that was on PEVL moved automatically and systematically to ABLE. And they will still automatically be mailed a ballot for all elections they're eligible for, with a caveat for the August primary, which we'll talk a little bit further about. So what is the difference between PEVL and ABLE besides the first letter? The fact is that ABLE stands for active, and that is technically the change, that if you're not active or actively participating by using your mail ballot for 2 consecutive election cycles, and I'll mention what those are, that's missing a primary and a general and a city-town candidate election for 2 consecutive cycles, so basically almost 4 years that we've been sending you a ballot and you're not using it, then you can be removed from that auto mail process. However, that does not affect your voter registration. We don't remove your voter registration record. You are still registered to vote, you just don't automatically get a ballot by mail. But if you, starting with this change, you still will be automatically sent as long as you're actively participating. One of the key things about this legislation as well was that we are required to send you a notice, so that if, let's say you aren't, for whatever reason, you've been out of state or whatever for this period, but you want to continue, we'll send you a notice as part of this legislation. And after 90 days, if you have not told us, yes, I want to stay on it, then and only then will we remove you. So it's about staying active and making sure that if we're mailing ballots, that they're being used. So that's the main change for that. But again, nothing to worry about. If you were a PEVL voter, you are automatically now an ABLE voter.
Thank you, Rey. And you mentioned upcoming August primary. We just wanted to make sure that independent voters were aware that for the August primary, they actually have to pick a ballot. So that we have just sent out 90-day voter or reminder cards to those independent voters, as well as all voters that are signed up on the active early voting list. And an independent voter will have to tell us which ballot they want, whether that's a Republican ballot, a Democratic ballot, or a nonpartisan ballot for any cities or towns that are having elections. So that's one reminder for our independent voters, and then also for all voters, that you have until 7 p.m. on election day to return that ballot to us, and postmarks don't count. And you can find and return that ballot to us at any one of our voting locations, which can be found at locations.maricopa.vote.
And a little bit more on, not so much on ABLE, but on the auto mailings. One of the things to note, that if you're an ABLE voter and you're going to be sent that ballot because you're registered with Republican, Democrat, Libertarian, so you have a party, we don't have to wait for you to tell us. Or even if you don't, and you tell us to go ahead and send your ballot, I want everybody to know that those mailings are sent as return service requested, meaning they are not forwarded. So if you happen to be an individual who leaves for the summer up to Munns Park, and you think, well, I have a forwarding address, it's going to get to me, it's not. So I want to be very important for the audience, and one of the takeaways from this series is that you will need to let us know if you have a temporary address. That 90-day card that Scott mentioned will give you an opportunity to add a temporary address. It's a postage paid card, but I'm going to tell you right now that those are sent because we want to give you that one of the more voter-centric ways to get you the ability to tell us what party you want if you're an independent, or if you're needing to add that temporary. But I'm going to say we also have a site, request.maricopa.vote, which you can go right now. It just went live yesterday, and you can make all of those temporary address changes, or go ahead and take care of making that party ballot or city town only ballot selection if you're an independent. I want to point that out because it's critical and important. A lot of people forget to do that, but note that those cards did go out this Monday, May 2nd, to all able voters. There is a two versions, one for an independent and they can select their party, one for voters unable that are registered with the party, DAM, Rep, Lib, that they can just verify that this is information they need to take no action. But if they need to add a temporary address, use that card. Or again, one more time, request.maricopa.vote. It's quite important that you know about that non-forwarding, that you add that mailing address if you need it, and know that the options are there for, again, the paper card or the online process.
I really do enjoy asking you questions because I learned so much. The Encyclopedia of Maricopa County Elections, Mr. Rey Valenzuela. Are you ready for the second question?
I am.
Okay, so the second question is, it has been several years since I submitted my initial early ballot request, and I'm not sure how I signed it. How do I know which signature is used for signature verification?
Well, thank you, Scott, for that question. Actually, it's a inquisitive question, and a lot of people, there's maybe a little bit of misinformation on that. First off, we know signatures tend to change or mature over the years. So as an example, my signature when I first registered when I was 18, 2 years ago, okay, maybe not, but it had a smiley face over the O for Reynaldo. Again, so the maturing signature doesn't mean just so much the signature, it could be the person as well. So my signature has changed, but so we know they do tend to change. So when asking which signature is used for signature verification, it's not just one from an early ballot request, as an example. Instead, know that we have multiple signature samples on file, including signatures from all the registration forms you submitted over time, especially even if it's a first registration. When you move, that registration isn't technically an update to your residence address, but it's also a signature update. We also have signatures from any time you checked in and voted in person. So let's say you're not a normal mail ballot voter, but this time you are. You're saying, well, how are you going to check my signatures? Well, we have, on top of your voter registration, we have every signature you made on a signature roster, paper roster, or an electronic poll book. In addition, we have signatures from past vetted and verified early ballot affidavits. So you voted last year and we have a signature that has been verified and approved, then we can use that as well. Also, as noted, signatures from your ABLE or your formal PBLE sign up or early voting request card. All of those are statutorily, legally allowed to be used as reference signatures. So we definitely have enough of those. And the key takeaway, I think, for the question and for the groups out there is that if you're an early voter and we have not contacted you, then the signature we have on file is, or the signatures are sufficient to be able to make that determination. So if your signature has changed and you no longer put the heart over the I or the smiley face over the O in my case, the great thing to know is that we have multiple exemplars, and if we have not reached out to you, then that's where, or because we have sufficient signature on file. The only other thing too is I wanted to point out, since we are talking about signatures, is our signature review process is multi-tiered. It's we have a user level going to a manager's to auto review. So it's not just one look at it, it's multiple looks by different tiers of staff. But more importantly, that it's 100% humans reviewing this. It is 100% of all signatures on early ballots must be reviewed by law, and 100% of that is done by humans utilizing that multi-tiered review process. So I want you to know that. And if you want more information on the review process, not to give it all here, go to beballotready.vote. That's not only a voter dashboard that's going to be specific to you if you sign in, that gives you what your address is. Very important. You may think you have the mailing address and you don't, or you may think that you've updated your residence. But that portal, beballotready.vote, will allow you to see that information, your resident, your political party affiliation, to see if you don't have one and you need to make that request. But also, at the bottom of that page, there is what we call the videos series that actually talks to all the different processes. One of those is the early ballot security process. So if you go to that page, there is a view more videos tag or tab, and in that is a video titled Early Ballot Security, which will walk you through visually 100% of how the signature verification process is done. And in that, you'll see that, and I don't want to go away without saying this, if you're an early voting person and you used to that, you'll get this green affidavit that has a spot for you to sign for us to use for signature verification. But you also see next to that is a spot for a phone number. And it actually reads, for use for verification only. We will not add that to your voter registration record. A lot of folks don't want that information on their permanent record, if you will. So we only use that to, if we have a question. So if you're a voter that's just recently registered, you're 18 years of age and you haven't moved and now you're 25 and you're a doctor, that's great. Congratulations. But your signature probably has matured. And we don't have a signature exemplar or multiple. So if we have to contact you, that is the fastest way to do that. So please provide us that number. We'll not go on your voter registration record, and know that we will reach out to you, whether it's using that phone number, by email if you gave that to us on your registration, by text. And speaking of text, one more plug for our wonderful process that we continue to build out. If you want to know the status of your ballot, please, please, please text JOIN to 628-683, and it actually will tell you when the ballot's been mailed, when we received it back, when it's been signature verified. More importantly, if it's not been signature verified. If we have a question, you'll get that text that says, please call us immediately, and we can walk through and work through that process.
Thank you for tuning in. Remember, if you, the viewers, want to have Ray or I answer your questions, you can always subscribe for the monthly Just the Facts newsletter at justthefacts.vote. You never know what information you may learn, such as Mr. Rey Valenzuela signs his signature with a smiley face, or used to in the recent past. Thank you.
Thank you all.